Welcome to Globe Visa's pioneering series, Meeting the Pros. My name is Alexander Kush. I'm your host today. And this series is all about interviewing industry professionals and getting to know about the things that really matter in our industry, about the insights and the trends that shape this industry. I'm here today with Don Lockman.
Welcome. Glad to be here with you, Alex. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Don Lockman is the director of the Marriott PBO program. And today we're going to share a little bit of a conversation about St. Kitts, about the program, and about the industry a little bit as a whole. So thank you so much for joining us today on this talk.
Great. Looking forward to it.
By the way, before we kick in, are you a St. Kitts citizen?
Absolutely. I've actually lived in St. Kitts for 17 years now. And so obviously I'm a little bit partial. I love the island, and I've had my citizenship for quite some time, and proud of my St. Kitts passport. I've carried this all over the world with me, and you can see all the various stamps.
Wow.
And I've been, of course, regionally, the Netherlands, the EU, Switzerland, parts of Asia. So it's well traveled. In fact, I think I'm going to have to get a new one pretty soon because I'm running out of pages.
But that's great. That's great to hear. Before we kick in, I really want to briefly touch on the history of St. Kitts. For those that might not know, St. Kitts and Nevis is a pioneer of this industry. They were the first ones to launch a citizenship by investment program back in 1984. So it's been well over 40 years now that the program has been in place. Of course, there's been a lot of changes throughout the times, but really the question is, after such a long time, are you concerned that perhaps the program might come to an end after such a run?
And that's an excellent question, and the short answer is no. I'm not really concerned, and I think it's a question every applicant needs to consider very well, because St. Kitts has been in this business for over 40 years and has always been on the cutting edge of what needs to be done in order to ensure the program and the strength of their passport. And they have done some things through history which may not have been the benefit to them financially, but it was all about ensuring the strength of the passport for the future, because these passports are generational. Your kids, your grandkids can become St. Kitts citizens. So I've been impressed with St. Kitts and what they've done over the years, and I'm not worried about that. And I'm really looking forward to their constant improvements to the program to ensure its stability.
Right, because speaking about recent changes, one of the 5 programs that is operating in the Caribbean lost access to the UK. In parallel as well, we saw that it was, I believe, back in June of 2023, a few of the countries had access to Canada for those ETA to Canada, subject that they hold a valid US visa. And one of those was St. Kitts. Mm-hmm. So it begs the question, what's St. Kitts doing right here? What makes them stand out?
Well, the biggest part of this, when we're talking about our political world partners out there, global partners as they would call them, is the due diligence process and what we would call vetting the clients. And that's critically important, that you have a system of not only working with well-established, reputable due diligence companies, which we do, but also internally, you have the safeguards in place that there can't be any bad actors internally, that some people are getting passports that shouldn't. And St. Kitts has always been on the cutting edge of these things. We've just initiated our own kind of ESTA program in St. Kitts, again, with our global partners, protecting borders. So we're always leading that charge to make sure that we're doing everything possible to comply with those worldly standards.
Speaking of bad actors, it's interesting you mentioned that, but recently in the news, there was some news of citizenship revocations. I believe the number was 13. that the St. Kitts government took action on. Can you share perhaps a little bit of an insight or your opinion? Why was that the case, and what does that mean for the program?
Yeah, I mean, so St. Kitts did some audits and found out that some agencies, I should say it appears, it never went all through the whole court process, have discounted or manipulated the monies so that some of these 13 people had not actually paid the appropriate fees. And so they were, I think St. Kitts took the absolute right path. They notified them and basically said, you need to pay up because this is the law or we're going to revoke. And my understanding is some people paid up. Mm-hmm. These 13 people clearly decided not to, and it was revoked, as it should be. Because if you're not willing to hold up the standards of the law, whether it's 1 or 2 or 13, then your standards mean nothing to anybody. And that goes back to what I talked about earlier, ensuring the quality of that passport in your program for future generations, because your clients are looking at spending good money to get involved in citizenship, and the last thing they want is 3 years later to have a problem. And that's where companies such as Globe Visa and yourself, well reputable, one of the largest in the world, you understand these processes. It's not about going to some agent that says how cheap they can do something for you. It's about going to somebody to make sure your future is being protected.
That's exactly true. I mean, I resonate with that because, you know, for our industry and for our market here, perhaps in the Middle East, in Asia, and for our companies, it's been difficult dealing with these small agencies that are engaging in this so-called discounting and you know promoting this program below the legal required investment amount. It's a big issue, and I just wanted to take your input on it. I mean, as a marketing agent, as a provider of St. Kitts, that is obviously complying with the law, how much of a threat are these agencies presenting, not only for the industry, the reputation of the industry, but for those end clients as well?
Well, I think the whole industry has started to come together to certainly to move towards eliminating that, and which I'm glad. You know, I have had agents approach me and suggest what they were going to do to manipulate them. We just won't deal with them. I won't deal with it. I deal with only reputable companies such as Globe, and we don't want to ever have somebody come back to me and say, why would you participate in something like that? And if one of your clients is hearing that from a competitor, they ought to run. They ought to run real fast, because now you're knowingly getting involved with someone who is breaking the law, and nothing good's going to come from it.
Yeah, it's a risk that I think nobody should take, as you pointed out correctly. Well, speaking on the program, on the process itself, there's been some innovative measures taking place. I know that the St. Kitts program launched a digital platform called Saturn to enhance, obviously, the process of applications. What's your take on the digitalization of citizenship by investment? Perhaps are there risks to it? Is this the right approach to go digital?
Well, you know, the world is automating and going digital and has been for years and years and years. I mean, I'm a really old guy. I can go back to IBM selected typewriters to do invoices. You know? It's not going to work anymore, is it? So I just think they are absolutely taking the right path. I don't believe it has an impact at all on the due diligence process. What it has is an impact on the internal processing and the communication with agencies. So when your client calls and says, well, what's the status of my application, you can actually go online and get an absolute current status of where it is. And these kinds of things are just critical to modernize as new softwares and new AI type programs become available.
Yeah, and to build trust with the client, and obviously to make the industry a bit more transparent, perhaps not as complex as it is for the end user. Well, speaking a bit more about the programs, Tell us a little bit more about PBO. I mean, what does PBO stand for? Why did St. Kitts launch it? I mean, what is it all about?
Well, it's a good question as well. The PBO essentially stands for Public Benefit Option, and the Marriott is listed as a public benefactor. The island kind of looked at, well, we already have the island donation, which goes to the general coffers, and we have a real estate product. But they really wanted to look towards businesses that contribute either currently or for the future to the people of St. Kitts significantly. Marriott, we're the second largest employer only to the government. The trickle-down effect of the funds into the community is amazing, but we're so much more than heads on beds. And that's the point I like to make people, because what am I doing, with a Marriott hotel? Mm-hmm. Well, we're so much more than that. We're a utility company. We have a desalination plant that provides water for most of the local community, businesses, restaurants, and things of that nature. We have a power company that has a lot of surplus power, so when the country's grid is getting stressed, which happens all over the world nowadays, they give us a call and we start putting power back into the grid so the people of St. Kitts can keep a steady bit of electricity coming in. We have a wastewater treatment plant where we, again, treat the wastewater from the whole general community. We have an incredible internship program with the local college. We're teaching culinary skills, HVAC, engineering, brand management, so that our employees are constantly being trained in the Marriott and brand management so they can transfer to Marriotts all over the world. We have petitions in Ritz-Carltons in Manhattan. And I venture to say there's probably some down here in Dubai. I may not know them personally, but they have moved about the world out there. And one of our biggest and favorites is the country's orphanage, the children's home. We are the longest running platinum sponsor for them. We host their run walk every year on our grounds. We cater the whole event. Our engineers go over to the orphanage. We've redone their kitchens. We've re-roofed it. And I will say the owners of the Marriott, that's one of their favorite things to constantly have to build up. And one of the kids came out of the orphanage, worked their way through Marriott, and now owns a very large IT business and has done very well with his initial training at the Marriott. We've built a school and a community center. So there's so much more to us than a head on a bed, and that's why the government said, no, the Marriott really deserves to be a public benefactor, and we're able to offer a path to citizenship.
So, but that's really important what you said. So essentially, it's more than a hotel. Because I mean, if you just say Marriott, all right, hospitality brand, hotel, something by the beach, Caribbean. But I mean, what you mentioned is much, much more. Wow, that's something that's not really talked about.
Yeah, and the beauty is, we're not a pamphlet of CGI images, and we hope to do this. We do it every day. These people are in our kitchens learning culinary schools. We're pumping water and electricity into the grid every single day. So people can rest assured that it's not a maybe if someday they might. We're doing it all the time.
Well, comparing the PBO to the donation option, the CISC option,
right,
and the real estate option, I mean, basically you could say that the PBO is similar to the donation.
It's very similar. The price is the same. You can have a variety of dependents. The big difference is, one, you know where your money's going with the Marriott, because I just explained it, what we do with it. And unlike the government donation, we do give the clients a little something back. A couple really important items. One is a residential address in St. Kitts. So if they're looking to set up banking or companies, LLCs, we give them a residential address. The other thing is, if they want to come to St. Kitts to facilitate that, we give them 13 nights in the hotel. Or, as we know, a lot of clients, because there's no residency requirement in St. Kitts, may not come. We offer up your clients 250,000 Marriott Bonvoy points, so they can use that as a Marriott currency for free nights at Marriotts around the world, frequent flyer miles, rental cars, you name it. They don't expire.
That's great. So there's a lot of value-added benefits that a client can get. It's not just a simple donation. where, let's say, you don't know where the money is spent, but with the PBO, with the Marriott PBO, I mean, you really have that visibility into the benefits of your investment.
You have the confidence. You're helping the people of St. Kitts, where you are looking to become a citizen and to park your citizenship so you know how it's being used.
From the 3 PBO options, what would you say really sets you apart? If a client comes and says, well, hey, there's this option, we have the Marriott option, I mean, what would be your, let's say, 1-minute pitch to this is why you got to choose Marriott?
I think there's 2 important factors that are really easy. We're Marriott. I mean, we're the largest hospitality brand in the world, and we're not looking to build something like our competitors. As I said, we do this every single day. You don't have to worry as well, will this structure ever get built or done, or what? And if it doesn't, what happens to my money? We're putting it to good use every single day.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, how's it been so far? Let's say year to date. How is the PBO option?
You know, they're going really well. Every month is growing in numbers, and you know, we were talking about processes and everything earlier, and I'm really excited that we're starting to get quite a few of our approvals through.
Right.
And they are just rolling in under 100 days. Very effectively. The unit has really come together under some fairly recent leadership, and our processing times in St. Kitts have greatly improved. Because
that's something that sets the PBO apart, right, from the donation and the real estate route, is that you have that enhanced processing window.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you talk to the unit, I mean, to be honest and fair, they would say that the processing times are similar across the board. Having represented real estate many years ago in St. Kitts, I think if there was one that was going to take longer, it's quite possibly the real estate, just because of the sheer amount of documentation that's required from, you know, transferring of deeds and, you know, listing of furnitures, escrow schedules. There's a lot, and most of your clients would understand if they've ever sold a house or bought a house, there's a lot of documentation.
Well, before we wrap this up, I just want to ask you about your experience with Globe Visa with us. How has it been? And I mean, let's say, how did it start?
Well, you know, I've certainly heard the name for a while because you folks are fairly large. And of course, I've met you just recently, and Irina, in St. Kitts. And that's kind of when we started tying the relationship together. And what's exciting for me always, and what I look for, because there's a lot of companies out there, and people that have been in the business a long time, the kind of size that you are polished, professional. You understand the ins and outs. You understand the documents that are required. You're very forthright and honest with your clients. And that's exactly who we look to partner with, because with the Marriott, we're not going to tarnish our name, and so we're also very selective. And we've seen a few files come through, and they're spot on, complete, how they're supposed to be done, which again for your clients should be something they're looking for.
Thank you. I mean, we look forward to building a fruitful collaboration and expanding on the existing partnership that we have already.
We're looking forward to it as well, and of course I'm always available to you or any of your clients for any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Don Lockman.
Right.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast, and make sure to subscribe, like, and stay active for more podcasts and interviews coming your way. Thank you. This is Alexander Kush with Don Lockman here at Globe Visa.